Hello friends, welcome to another edition of our video for Telecom Drive. And today it is my extreme pleasure to be sitting with Mr. Kevin Graham from TCCA. And as we all know that TCCA is a global organization, a community where critical communications is an extremely important focus there. So I welcome Kevin you to the video. And to start the conversation, I would like to ask you about why do you think critical communications is important for India today?
Well, thanks for the opportunity to join you today. And I've enjoyed a week back in India, and we had a wonderful event in conjunction with our local partner association, Broadband India Forum, yesterday. And that was a great forum for us to meet with government agencies, academia, local and international industry, and like a lot of nations, they're considering how do you go about delivering a national capability, an secure, trusted capability that will then service all of the needs of the critical industry sector, and particularly those in government and public safety. So, in a lot of nations, they've had the benefit of nationwide narrowband systems, multi-agency. In India, that hasn't necessarily been the case in the past. They've certainly leveraged those technologies on a state or citywide basis, but I think one of the big opportunities that 3GPP mission critical broadband provides is the opportunity to now deliver national capability, allowing individual agencies to have their own virtual capability, but through using the standards, the ability to then interoperate when situations require those. Whether it's disaster management, whether it's police, fire, interoperability to deal with an incident. And I think this is really a huge opportunity in India to build that capability.
So when it comes to spectrum allocation, what specific harmonized frequency bands will be allocated nationwide for critical communications, and will they be licensed directly to user agencies or to a neutral host operator to ensure interoperability?
Obviously, in a lot of nations across the world, they've looked at what are the potential options for delivering this capability. In a number of nations, they've made decisions to leverage public mobile network carriers, existing infrastructure, at least at a RAN level. And obviously, in the context of India, what might that look like? And I think, in most nations, there needs to be recognition that, especially vast nations, if you can leverage the lower frequency bands to give you a macro coverage, and in denser cities, look at having allocations that give you then maybe higher frequencies that then give you the capacity to deliver some of the if you like, heavier data-centric content, which is one of the primary reasons for leveraging broadband. For years, narrowband serves a lot of these customers, but clearly they need the ability to enhance their situational awareness, both before, during, and after events. So consequently, there's also a couple of other areas in terms of functional delivery that dictates other spectrum considerations. Is there an air-to-ground requirement? How do they replicate in a broadband sense the direct mode that allows localized working, extension of coverage into buildings? So, where would that spectrum be? And in 3GPP, we're also working on 5G side-link and multi-hop. So that will be another consideration in spectrum that needs to be taken account of. So consequently, discussions with regulators around the world is how do we
Right.
how do we do that? Can you potentially leverage spectrum that carriers may be able to contribute?
Okay.
What other private spectrum might be needed? And there's other critical industries like rail and utilities where
Right.
an industry, manufacturing, where there's a need for private spectrum to deliver that capability, because often the carriers are not in a position to provide the service levels required in some of those industries.
Okay.
So,
So beyond technology, what nationwide governance structure, common standards, and operational procedures will be mandated to ensure seamless communication between different states and between different agencies, like you mentioned police, fire, and railways, CISF. There's a lot of agencies. India has got a lot of agencies, and I mean a lot of frequencies are being used in these agencies.
Well, you look at other nations that have a federated model,
Right.
and the provision of those services is funded, whether it's from state or local or at a national level, have implications. But it's fairly clear that in most countries, the first thing to look at is what would be the appropriate governance model. What would be who would be the agency that may take on that responsibility?
Right.
In other nations where they've already had agencies delivering narrowband on a national basis, many of those have been assigned to then manage and coordinate their approach for critical broadband.
Right.
Look at US, you look at UK, Spain, Middle East.
Right.
They all have essentially organisations allocated at least to oversee and govern the deployments. So I think that's one of the key discussions, is really encouraging that the industry, Indian ministries are now joining up with our global public safety operators, taking lessons on the different models that have prevailed.
Okay.
And I think that's really, really useful that they do collaborate on that basis and work out from the various models that have been deployed overseas what might be the appropriate path here.
Okay. So when it comes to financial sustainability, what viable funding and business models can be deployed to overcome the high initial capex barrier and ensure long-term network maintenance and expansion?
Yeah. And look, I think, again, there's been various models that have prevailed. Middle East, South Korea, they put in dedicated networks, completely funded from the government, and were allocated spectrum. You look at the US, they essentially set up a governance body that set up a PPP program where AT&T delivered the first national capability, which is another model. And clearly, there's various approaches on that spectrum in terms of funding. I think one of the most important things is, and in a lot of countries, they're trying to leverage with the existing carriers, whether that's a single carrier or a multi-operator type strategy, contracting with those MNOs to deliver the grades of service that they're looking for.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily bring about all of the resilience, reliability and availability, because most carriers have been operating on a best endeavours for consumer and enterprise. So this is another, I guess, cost imposition for carriers. So consequently there needs to be some partnering on that. And secondly, apart from delivering that coverage maybe via an MNO, you've got to look at all of the other quick deployment type investments, the security factors that may impact the level of costs that government may need to contribute to deliver the functional outcomes and reliability that these agencies must have. They must have the same capabilities they've got with their narrowbands. Messages, voice must get through, can't drop. And you can't have outages on the network. So, there's really now emerging, if you like, a network of networks approach to things. It's can we leverage with the mobile network operators? Can we complement with maybe enhance private coverage? What do we do in terms of quick deployment? How do we now start looking at leveraging the non-terrestrial capabilities that are coming along that can provide augmented coverage,
Right.
or conversely could provide a layer of redundancy should you lose your terrestrial network. You know, that's another opportunity for, if you like, maybe lowering the cost of terrestrial deployment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So India, as you know, as a nation, we have a pretty strong strategy towards making products here, Make in India initiative, where a lot of manufacturing is happening here. So, how do you think the Make in India initiative can be leveraged to foster local manufacturing of Tetra infrastructure, the Tetra terminals, and applications to drastically reduce the costing and ensure the supply chain security and create a domestic ecosystem here, right?
Look, I think it's always good to encourage the evolution of domestic capability.
Right.
But yeah, ultimately, and this may be a personal view, is you need to look at where you can create that innovation
Right.
soon enough
Right.
that you can then take advantage of it.
Right.
And I think this is where, ultimately there's a balance as to what India may be able to share with the rest of the world, what
Right.
they can contribute in India. Where is the best value that India can add?
Right.
And given the array of functionality that needs to be developed, applications and so on. I mean, there's a lot of that really plays into India's skill base. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's a business case around volumes in what is a fairly niche sector as to what makes sense from a manufacturing perspective. So, ultimately, most countries end up balancing out what
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
And also their trajectory to be able to undertake their programs. You don't want to wait necessarily for years of development before you can start to execute. So
Right.
I think there's quite a balanced model, given these networks following 3GPP are going to evolve as the 3GPP standards evolve from 4G to 5G.
Right.
We're now talking about making sure mission critical is
Yes.
included in the 6G
Absolutely.
standards
Absolutely.
discussions.
Right. That's actually my next question. As 3GPP based MCX solutions mature, what is the definitive migration path and from pure Tetra networks to broadband? And what is the realistic timeline for this transition in the Indian context?
Yeah. All right. Look, I think there's enough evidence around the world with live systems, agencies going on to mission critical broadband services. In the US, there's Finland, France is now live and
Right.
operational.
Right.
ESN's well on the way. You've got examples in Spain and other places. It's clear through Asia that this is going to prevail. But within the standards, you have an interworking function, 3GPP on the broadband side. We've now, with ETSI, done all of the Tetra IWF specifications, and then we've got working groups, collaboration between government operators and industry as to what is the right pathway, because it's really important that there is gateways between the networks, because it's impossible to migrate all of the assets and all of the field and train, particularly all of
the training,
the staff.
Absolutely.
So it's vital that people have a realistic understanding of what's required in terms of implementation within agencies, upgrading their assets to include the facilities,
right,
while still being able to use their existing networks. So, and most nations are charting a multi-year approach to this.
Okay. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on this topic of skill development and the overall development of ecosystem. So what do you think about the developing a skilled, domestic workforce capable of designing, deploying, managing, and securing complex critical communication networks here? So what should be the way forward?
Yeah, look, I think firstly, India is one of the SDOs that are sponsoring 3GPP efforts. There's a lot of participation from Indian academia,
Right.
industry. So yeah, there's a generally good understanding of the sort of mission critical functionality and also the rail function. Like Future Rail, it's built on the top of
Yes.
the core MCX standards. So I think from that perspective, there's good awareness. It's then how does that evolve or devolve into building, understanding all of the parts of the ecosystem, and where is the obvious places where existing India skill can be leveraged, and then how do you enhance that skill level to be able to maybe take on other parts of the
Right.
ecosystem. Because this is quite a major change in overlaying all of the enhanced data,
Right.
and also orchestrating that data to match the network capacity and so on. So,
Okay.
yeah, and architecting the network in the right way to deliver the interoperability is really important.
Right.
So I think some of the early decisions on how the national program might roll out will dictate what some of the
Yes.
architectural aspects are, and what
Right.
does that mean in terms of the individual elements of the ecosystem
Okay.
that will need enhancement and or migration.
Okay. Now, when we talk about the use case expansion for critical communications, etc., beyond traditional public safety, which are some of the high value verticals which can be targeted as early adopters to demonstrate ROI and build a critical mass for the
Yeah.
technology?
Look, the obvious ones, and we're seeing some of those prevail in India now with private networks. 4G
Okay.
networks rolling out. I think all of the traditional LMR industries have been supported, from public safety through transport, seaport, airport, logistics,
Yes.
into the public and rails, long line rail,
Okay.
metro situations. Then you go look at the utility sectors,
Yes.
and all of the energy sectors that
Right.
have been reliant, both from an operational perspective, but also a business continuity perspective, on
Right.
having robust connectivity.
Okay.
These are all verticals that are part of our community, and
Yes.
we pair with some of the vertical sector associations and regional associations. One, to understand requirements, understand common requirements, and then
Right.
how do we evolve that, whether it's a private evolution or a combination of hybrid and with mobile network operators.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, given the sensitive nature of this critical communications, what measures should be taken to ensure end-to-end network security, including encryption, vulnerability testing, and control over core, network elements to protect against cyber threats and such attacks?
Yeah, look, I think one of the advantages of the 3GPP standard is, there's been a lot of attention to the core security across the network. And obviously this is a big area that both mobile network operators and the industry have been concentrating on, from a consumer sector, enterprise, and now some of the specialist use cases that prevail in public safety, government, and some fairly special agencies that have some unique requirements as well.
Right.
So a lot of our community are coming together to put together guidance on what might be best practice, not just from a cyber security encryption perspective, but also looking at the other levels of security, which includes physical security,
Right.
and also how does that translate into training of staff around that, which often is a vulnerability point, and also device management. How do you ensure that the device management is synchronized with the end-to-end security requirements? Yeah, because often we've seen in the past where attacks on individual sensors and or devices can compromise the network.
Right.
So there's a lot of work going in around device management.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the last piece of it, the work we're doing that's really, really important is, from a device perspective, from server perspective, we're wanting to make sure that the same interoperability certification regime prevails for mission critical functionality and FRMCS. And consequently, we've had a program with Global Certification Forum to evolve a device certification regime that leverages what they've done for all of the devices, device certification they do. And we're really pleased now that both from a 3GPP perspective, from a GCF perspective, we've got support to move towards also defining interoperability frameworks that would then deliver the certification and certainty to the industry, to the end users, to the network operators, be them private or mobile network operators, that the devices, will behave as expected on a network. And I think that's a really important part of it. And we're really glad that some of the current government operators have subscribed as members of GCF, and we're seeing our industry members do the same. And a lot of participating in our ETSI plug testing, both on MCX and FRMCS. So they're evolving their solutions along this path of certification and interoperability, which is really, really encouraging. And hopefully India will adopt a similar approach to sort of mandate that this regime should apply, especially in critical industry context.
Great. So that's it from my side. It's been a pleasure to understand and speak with you. I wish you all the best, and we look forward to more such interactions in the near future.
Well, we're hoping to continue on a program of events here in India. Really useful for the Indian industry to gather, for us to bring in internationals to share experience, and of course we have our annual event next year in London in June. So people should have a look at our website and have a look at some of the programs that are evolving on a regional basis. We'd love people to come and join, understand some of the end use cases from end user agencies, because then we can work on those in terms of evolving approaches to deliver capability through others in our ecosystem and the stakeholders. So thanks for the opportunity to share some of this, and we look forward to exchanging further in India.
Thank you.